At the gathering, someone asked, "There are 5 executives but only 4 chairs. What would you do?" I blurted out recklessly, "If it's someone like John, he can just sit on my lap." The moment I finished speaking, a deep voice came from behind me. "Oh, are you sure?" After finally convincing my mom, I left my hometown and ventured to New York alone. Shortly after arriving, I attended a class reunion. Most former classmates were New York locals, making the event feel more like a welcome party for me. When my best friend Sophia led me into the private room, nearly everyone greeted me. I saw many familiar faces I hadn't met in years, but one person I'd hoped to see was conspicuously absent, the most dazzling presence from our college days. I casually counted heads. "Hey, not everyone's here yet?" Sophia glanced around the room. "Yeah, those not in the city didn't come." "Oh, so all locals are present?" Sophia checked her phone. "Not exactly, John didn't make it." I nodded with feigned indifference while wondering, why isn't he here? Sophia pulled me to sit down. "He's super busy these days. Not sure if he'll find time." The mention of John electrified the room. "John? He's a CEO now." "Totally. Big shot executive." I heard all the junior staff at nearby companies swoon over John's charisma. "You're ridiculous." "Charisma? Ha ha ha." Joining the gossip about John made me feel less self-conscious, even bold. Wasn't John already crazy handsome in college? Turns out he's still. Exactly. Half the women here are still crushing on his looks. After a few drinks, the focus shifted to me. When classmates learned I needed work, an HR professional offered mock interviews to boost my confidence. Tipsy me readily agreed. "Bring it on. I'm unstoppable." The classmate smiled. "Don't worry, I'm a pro." The next 5 minutes bombarded me with absurd questions. What would you lose if we hire you? How would you sell high heels to mermaids? What color is your brain? What kind of insane questions are these? As the mock interview continued, someone asked, 5 executives arrive but there are only 4 chairs. Solution? Now fully on a roll, I declared, "If it's someone like John, he can just sit on my lap." The sudden awkward silence from across the table confused me. "What? You ask weird questions, you get weird answers." Then that deep voice resonated behind me again, magnetic, undeniably masculine, and faintly amused. "Oh. Are you sure?" Holy shit! The moment I recognized the voice, my entire body froze. Didn't they say John wasn't coming? He. How did he suddenly appear? The abrupt silence in the room amplified his approaching footsteps behind me. Seeing our classmates' eager gossipy expressions, my toes were already digging a hole in the floor through my shoes. Is there anything more humiliating than being caught red-handed by the person himself? Does John think I'm some kind of creep now? Ah. He stopped behind me, his voice drifting down from above. Emily? I didn't dare turn around. "Oh haha, John. Welcome, welcome." His low chuckle vibrated through the air. "Not going to look at me? Is this how you greet people?" I strained my neck stiffly. See cervical sprain. Throwing desperate puppy eyes at Sophia, she finally took mercy. "John, didn't you say there was a company meeting?" John casually pulled out the chair beside me. "Meetings can be rescheduled." His gaze burned through my shoulder blades as he sat down. "But some people can't wait." Who's he talking about? Male or female? My inner voice screamed while I sat frozen like a taxidermied squirrel. Any bystander would think I'd forgotten how to speak. "Ah. Ha. He kept staring at that infuriating smile. "You wanted me sitting on your lap earlier. Why so cold now?" My hands trembled. "Just jokes." Sophia intercepted smoothly. "John, Emmy's prepping for her interview. We're doing mock drills." "Interviews?" His eyes swept over me like an X-ray machine. She could have asked me directly. I waved frantically. "No need, really." "Thanks anyway." But Sophia pressed on. "Any advice for Emily?" John's gaze turned indecipherable. Just maintain your usual standards. Sophia blinked. Seriously? Even after all that earlier? His long fingers tapped the table edge. Absolutely. I dismissed his words then. 2 days later, I'd pay for that mistake. Now sitting in Summit Group's conference room, I faced John across the mahogany table. The interviewer who'd surrendered his seat stood hunched beside him, murmuring reports. God help me. I'd applied to John's damn company. The worst part was overhearing them discussing the interview questions. Remembering what John had said that day, I had this sinking feeling in my gut. Sure enough, a minute later came the dreaded question. The interviewer's lips moved like some ancient incantation. If 5 executives arrive but there are only 4 chairs, what would you do? John crossed his arms, eyes gleaming with anticipation. Darn it, I couldn't actually say that. I tentatively probed, do we really have to do this? Are you seriously putting me through this? The interviewer stayed silent, but John nodded firmly. Yes. Maybe the company could bring another chair? I mumbled. John's brow furrowed. Clearly unimpressed. The interviewer, sensing his boss's disapproval, snapped, no extra chairs. That's the constraint. Our eyes locked across the table. I knew exactly what he wanted me to say. Hadn't he emphasized staying true to yourself at that networking event? If I said the line, they'd have to hire me, right? This was my dream company anyway. After an eternity of internal screaming, I blurted out the nuclear option, if it's the executive in the middle. I pointed straight at John, leaving no room for misinterpretation. Maybe he could just sit on my lap? The room froze. The interviewer turned sheet white, stammering to John, Mr. Wilson, our HR team must have overlooked something during resume screening. Translation, we accidentally hired a lunatic. Then John laughed. Thunderous applause erupted as he clapped like a proud theatergoer. Brilliant! Exactly the bold thinking we need. You're hired. The interviewer's jaw hit the floor, his gaze ping-ponging between me and his applauding CEO. I went viral. Not regular viral, supernova-level viral. By lunchtime, everyone knew, the Bats hit crazy new hire who'd invited John to use her as furniture during the interview. And got praised for it. Whispers followed me as I searched for my desk with my shiny new badge. That's her? The Emily girl? Clark's such an uncommon last name, has to be. Who has the balls to tell Mr. Wilson to park his ass on them? A chatty coworker sidled up, grinning. Hey Emmy, so you're the one who, during the interview? I stared blankly. What? What the hell? John, I hate you. The older you get, the more ruthless you become. But little did I know, John soon faced his own backlash. As the rising star among new hires, he still didn't know when to tone down his act. The moment I settled at my workstation, the supervisor came over. Emily, this isn't your station anymore. Panicking, I protectively clutched my belongings. What's wrong? Wasn't I officially hired for this position? I literally sacrificed my dignity for this job. Don't kick me out. The supervisor smiled. Relax. John recognized your exceptional talent. You're being promoted. Under the astonished gazes of colleagues, I skyrocketed from entry-level staff to team leader, the fastest promotion in company history. Sitting at the team leader's desk, I frowned. John suddenly grew a conscience? Maybe he felt guilty about torturing me during the interview? But something felt off about this new position. Why did my workstation directly face John's office through floor-to-ceiling glass? Thank God for vertical blinds. The thought barely formed when the blinds abruptly retracted. John stood by the glass, his gaze drifting toward my direction. I started mouthing thank you when the blinds snapped shut again. Are we playing with the blinds now? 30 minutes later, John emerged. All hands meeting in the conference room. On it! I chirped, buzzing with newbie enthusiasm for my first major meeting. My excitement made me miss the undercurrent of tension among colleagues. The disaster unfolded during the meeting. Eager to impress, I claimed a corner seat early. Colleagues shuffled in and out carrying folding chairs. By meeting time, every seat was occupied except the CEO's spot at the head table, conspicuously chairless. John entered with his usual icy composure. His brow furrowed at the missing chair. "Where do I sit?" Silence. A senior developer patted his thighs with a grin. "John, my lap's available." The older woman on the left wouldn't be outdone. "John, he's too skinny. Sitting on him would be uncomfortable. You should sit on my lap instead." Suddenly, the conference room exploded like a lit firecracker, erupting in chaos. "John, sit here. I can do a squatting stance." "He's too weak. Look at me instead, John." "John, I'm flexible, come to me." "John." John found himself surrounded, his handsome face frozen in shock. It took me several seconds to comprehend the madness before I collapsed against the corner wall, laughing until tears streamed down my face. John eventually fled the conference room like escaping wildfire, returning with his own chair. Though I'd made a complete fool of myself during the interview, I'd somehow become an accidental trendsetter. John had dug his own grave. Now the entire company believed sitting invitations to the boss guaranteed promotions. He couldn't even refute it, not after publicly praising me and giving that unexpected promotion. After the meeting, colleagues buzzed with excitement, already tasting imaginary promotions. Yet days passed without any position changes. "Maybe because Emily was the first to try it," someone lamented. "We need to act faster next time." I bit my lip, nodding solemnly while suppressing giggles. Though clueless about John's real reasons for promoting me, I didn't care to investigate. It certainly wasn't about seating arrangements. Whatever, I'd take the win without questioning. My desk's proximity to John's office gave me front row access, especially since he rarely closed his blinds. I tried not to stare, but damn, the man was sculpted by Michelangelo himself. Among new hires, Dan stood out too decent-looking with genuine kindness. One morning during my covert John-watching session, Dan approached with coffee. "Emily?" he called, making me jump like a thief caught mid-heist. "Just spacing out," I stammered. His warm smile accompanied the paper cup. "Brought you this." I thanked him and zelled the money, waiting until he left to resume surveillance. This time, I locked eyes with John through the glass. My gaze skittered away like startled birds. Wait, was that a glare? Did he look angry? By noon, a delivery man hauled 2 massive boxes into the office. "Coffee order." As colleagues murmured in confusion, John strolled out casually, hands in pockets. "Mine." "Great work, everyone. Let me treat you all to coffee." Another round of cheers erupted. "Thank you, Mr. Wilson." I looked down at the half-finished coffee in my hand and stayed silent. 1 cup a day is more than enough for me. When everyone had taken their coffee, 1 cup remained. "Who hasn't gotten theirs yet?" Someone answered, "Emily." "Emily hasn't taken hers." I shook my paper cup at them. "I've already got mine." It should have ended there. Then John suddenly spoke up. "Emily, don't you like it?" I nearly jumped out of my skin. Turning around, I found him leaning against his office doorway, staring at me. I immediately put on a bright smile and hurried over. "I'll drink it." I love coffee. Later during lunch break, when I returned from the restroom, the coffee Dan had brought me was gone. I eventually found it in the trash can. Oh well, maybe someone accidentally knocked it over. No big deal. Somehow, Dan became the second person after me to get promoted. Though he got transferred to another district. To celebrate the promotion, I made plans with my best friend Sophia to go shopping after work Friday. Sophia had been driven crazy by her difficult clients lately, and her eyes lit up at the mention of shopping. After hours of walking until our feet ached, we finally picked a restaurant for dinner. While waiting in line, Sophia suddenly asked, "So Emmy, what's it like working under John?" I thought for a moment and answered truthfully, "Not bad. Gets to look at a handsome guy every day." Sophia sighed and shook her head at me. "John is seriously good looking. Back in college, I thought you two would end up together. Who knew you'd both have such high standards and not be interested in each other?" Her words made me pause. Not interested? The truth was, nobody knew. I'd liked John for years. On graduation day, I'd planned to confess to him. While our friend group was taking photos together, John got surrounded by underclassmen asking for autographs and selfies. The campus belle Lily was among them. A friend joked, "This guy's always been popular with the girls." Yeah, he's always been like that. I deliberately turned my back to avoid looking at John. Another friend stared at the crowd. Is that girl confessing to John? John's best friend waved it off. Won't work. That guy wouldn't even give Lily the time of day. He told me himself he's not interested in any of these girls. Poor things. They cried so hard when he turned them down. I kept my eyes downcast, listening to their chatter. So what kind of girl would someone like John even like? I wasn't as pretty as Lily, nor did I come from a prominent family like hers. If even someone that amazing got rejected, how could I possibly dare to try? We probably wouldn't even stay friends after that. A friend suddenly glanced at my expression and teased, "Emmy, do you like John too?" Several people turned to look at me, and I panicked, immediately denying everything. I exaggerated my tone on purpose. How could that be? Why would I ever like someone like John? Little did I know John had heard every word. When I turned around, he tapped my head with a smile. "What nonsense are you spouting now? A guy like me isn't lacking admirers." After the photo shoot, he threw the roses he'd been holding into the trash. I winced at the sight of those delicate blooms being discarded. He simply shrugged. "Someone else gave them to me. They've served their purpose." Though the evening was dark, John's eyes remained bright, reflecting the stage lights like twin constellations. I told myself stars naturally shone that brilliantly. After saying goodbye to Sophia, I realized I'd left my keys at the office. With no other choice, I hurried back. Thankfully, security was still on duty at night. When I reached our floor, I noticed light spilling from John's office. Our CEO was burning the midnight oil again. I grabbed my keys from my desk and ducked into the restroom before heading out, deliberately avoiding disturbing John's work. But as fate would have it, the door jammed when I tried to leave. Unlike standard bathroom locks, our upscale office had installed these fancy latches that now betrayed me. After several frantic attempts, I slumped against the tile wall. I'd successfully imprisoned myself in a corporate bathroom. The noisy rattling didn't attract any attention from the office. For the first time, I cursed our company's premium fixtures. When escape attempts proved futile, I reluctantly pulled out my phone. Only one person could rescue me now. He answered on the second ring. If I hadn't known he was working late, I might have thought him idle. That familiar baritone, slightly husky from overtime, vibrated through the receiver. "Need something?" Gritting my teeth, I blurted, "Can you come to the office restroom?" A pause. "What's wrong?" I locked myself in, I mumbled, cheeks burning. Silence. Was he judging my stupidity? Then came the dial tone and rapid footsteps. Within moments, his voice echoed outside, "Emily? You in there?" "Here." I squeaked. "Don't worry. I'm here." His calm assurance made me feel both comforted and utterly ridiculous. Metal clicked as he worked on the lock. "How'd you manage this?" Amusement colored his words. "Came back for my keys. Thought I'd use the bathroom first." His chuckle warmed the cold tiles. My face burned hotter than the stage lights that still danced in my memory. But John's tinkering ended in failure. Finally, he took a deep breath. "Step back. I'm going to kick the door open." I immediately pressed myself against the water tank, terrified of getting caught in the crossfire. With a loud bang, the door flew open. John stood at the restroom entrance, breathing slightly harder than usual. "Let me drive you home." I initially wanted to decline. Then it struck me, this was a golden opportunity. I nodded. "That'd be great, John." He stared at me without moving. Just as I grew puzzled, I heard his quiet murmur. "You used to call me by my name before." That doesn't seem appropriate now." I explained, "We're in a professional hierarchy." He cut me off. "Aren't we still friends off the clock?" Under his intense gaze, I relented. "All right. John, you're really not acting like a CEO. His satisfied smile emerged. When we reached his sleek Maybach, I reached for the back door handle only to freeze at his voice. Emily. I looked up, confused. What fresh mischief was this? John strode over, opened the front passenger door, and gestured. Sit here. The 30-minute drive passed quickly. After dropping me off, I glanced out my apartment window to see the Maybach's taillights lingering before finally driving away. At the office days later, colleagues quickly noticed the broken restroom lock. My stomach dropped when I overheard the gossip. Why hadn't John arranged repairs? Mid-morning, someone approached him during his habitual stroll. Mr. Wilson, the restroom door's been vandalized. He paused barely a second before responding casually, no vandalism. I kicked it open. Have maintenance fix it. But... The colleague stammered, that's the women's restroom. John slid his hands into his pockets, gaze drifting toward me. I pressed my lips tight, anxiety coiling as coworkers' eyes followed his line of sight. He shrugged. Emily got locked in that day. Emergency situation. Of course he'd say that. My smile turned rigid under the team's bewildered stares. Yes. Thank you again, John. Thus I became office legend, the woman who landed promotions by making CEOs sit on her lap and required executive door-kicking rescues. No one saw my internal screaming. Until Lily arrived. If I remember correctly, her family owns a company. She majored in business administration in college, clearly destined to inherit the family empire. So why on earth did she come to interview at our company? My coworkers and I clustered outside the conference room, shamelessly eavesdropping. Lily had blossomed into a stunning beauty with undeniable charm. John was personally conducting her interview, yet their conversation lacked any professional formality. It sounded more like an older brother lecturing his kid sister. John's expression grew increasingly stern until I saw a single tear roll down Lily's cheek. At that moment, John said something abruptly and stood to leave, nearly catching us red-handed. My colleagues scattered like roaches, but being at the front, I got trapped. Emily, what are you doing here? I stammered, bathroom break. His lips quirked. Try not to get locked in this time. Thanks a lot. Lily left our office in tears. Later, someone dug up that she's the daughter of a major construction tycoon. She's gorgeous. Why work here instead of inheriting her family business? Don't you know? She came for John. Another heartbroken girl rejected by Mr. Wilson, co-workers whispered. Hiding in the crowd, I shook my head. Never thought Lily would still carry this torch for John after all these years. There's something almost admirable about that persistence. My manager waved a hand in front of me. Daydreaming? Just wondering why Mr. Wilson made her cry, I admitted. His expression turned conspiratorial, eyebrows dancing with unspoken secrets. Against better judgment, I took the bait. Do you know something? He pulled me aside. Since you seem to have this weird connection with John, I'll tell you. But breathe a word and you're fired. I nodded frantically. Leaning closer, he whispered, the truth is, John's not into women. My brain short-circuited. Swear it's true. He insisted. My uncle tried setting him up with his daughter. That's exactly how John turned him down. You didn't hear this from me. Suddenly, countless puzzling moments clicked into place. No wonder John never seemed to date anyone. His buddies mentioned he didn't like those girls. So, I fell for someone. God, I'm literally crying. 6 years, how many 6-year chunks do we get in life? The worst part? Even after realizing the truth, my feelings for John haven't changed one bit. Back at my desk, emotions churned inside me. Seeing John's office right across the glass partition made my chest ache. Should I end this hopeless crush? But every glance at him still makes my heart race. How do I stop loving someone who takes my breath away every single time? After learning his secret, I vowed to stop stealing glances. Plenty of fish in the sea, time to move on. I buried myself in work with 99 6-level intensity. My tasks weren't heavy, but I triple-checked every document and prepared multiple versions. For 3 straight days, I didn't look his way once. Then his office blinds started dancing, open, shut, open again. Swear to God I wasn't peeking, but that floor-to-ceiling window dominated my peripheral vision. Curiosity won. I glanced up just as John stood framed in the glass, gaze locked on me with. Was that resentment? He yanked the blinds shut with unnecessary force. At the weekly meeting, dark circles shadowed John's eyes. Instead of routine updates, he dropped a bomb. Let me ask, does everyone feel our workload is reasonable? The room froze. Our company's famous for work-life balance, no overtime, fair task distribution. This felt like prelude to criticism. After agonizing silence, a brave soul admitted, honestly? We're not overloaded. John's eyes pinned me as he continued, then why do some employees look exhausted? Glued to their screens all day? My cheeks burned. He might as well have flashed my employee badge on the projector. Maybe they're perfecting simple tasks, I blurted. His gaze finally released me, but his words didn't. I don't want my team drained by work. Do the basics well, no need for endless revisions. Don't you agree, Emily? How could I possibly disagree? Of course I think John Wilson is right. After his guidance, I found myself walking this impossible tightrope, forbidden from working too hard yet barred from slacking off. My days felt so suffocating. I called Sophia, inviting her to dinner. She was on a business trip in the neighboring city, promising to return later that evening. She sent me a photo grinning amidst skewers of barbecue, all alone. I decided to wait at the office instead of going home. Colleagues trickled out until only John remained. Emerging from his office, he frowned seeing me at my desk. Working overtime again? What's so urgent? I hurried to explain, just waiting for someone. Can't be bothered to go home first. His expression softened. Stay safe. After he left, hunger pangs hit hard. Remembering Sophia's photo made my mouth water. I texted her, aren't you bringing me any food? You don't care about me at all. Crying face. The reply came instantly, what do you want? I was halfway through typing my order when realization struck. This was John's number. Holy shit! Wrong contact. Frantically, I sent another message, sent to wrong person. Sorry. His response dripped with ellipses. 10 minutes later, John reappeared carrying multiple takeout bags. I blinked in confusion as he strode over, dumping the fragrant packages on my desk with military precision. Thought you were hungry. He began unpacking containers. Eat. Rubbing my temples, I protested, this is. His gaze sharpened. Who were you expecting to bring food? Could they possibly arrive faster than me? Sophia, I answered. Something flickered across his face, brief but unmistakable. Is something wrong? He touched his nose. And no. Nothing. Right then, Sophia called. Emmy, I'm pulling up to your office now. Gathering my things, I glanced at the steaming feast. John, maybe you should take these. His lips pressed tight. Fine. I dragged Sophia to a street food stall, ordering a pitcher of beer that made her eyebrows shoot up. Emmy, what are you doing? Why, are you in a bad mood? I nodded at her. Yeah, I found out something recently and haven't slept well for a long time. 40 minutes later, I lay in Sophia's arms, crying my eyes out. Sophia, do you know? I've fallen for someone who's out of reach. Sophia gently patted my back. Why is it out of reach? You're so pretty. Who wouldn't like you? I sobbed. It's really impossible. I'll just tell you straight. I've kept this to myself for years. Actually, I've always had feelings for John Wilson, woo-woo. The hand that had been resting on my back lifted. Sophia held my shoulders and pulled me up from her embrace, looking surprised. What? Are you serious? Yeah, I pouted. But do you know why he's never had a girlfriend? Why? Because he just doesn't like girls. Ah, woo-woo. Sophia's expression must have been the same as mine when I found out. She was so shocked that her features seemed to stretch. Is this reliable? I nodded vigorously. Absolutely true. He said it himself. Sophia's already big eyes were now wide open. I knew she must find it hard to believe this fact, so I hugged her and continued to cry. But the next second, a voice came from behind me. When did I ever say that? Sophia and I both turned our heads. John was standing behind us. When did you hear me say I don't like girls? Shit. John pulled out the chair opposite and sat down, crossing his arms, looking rather complicated. I was just so annoyed by all those blind dates they kept setting me up on that I just blurted it out. The reason I've never had a girlfriend isn't that. It's just that the person I like doesn't like me. The sad feeling that I'd finally managed to hold back welled up again after hearing this. I could feel the tears about to spill. John looked up at me, but just now, she said she actually likes me. The tears that had welled up to the bottom of my eyes were forced back. What? Just now? Said she liked him? This person. Couldn't it be? I turned my head in shock and met his gaze. Are you serious? Oh my God, this is so dramatic. It turns out John has always liked me too. On graduation day, he specially prepared a big bunch of red roses, planning to confess his love to me in front of everyone after the group photo. But unfortunately, he heard me say with my own mouth that I'd never like him. He was so heartbroken that he was almost in tears. He was so angry that he even threw away the flowers and held back his tears all night. No wonder I always thought his eyes were so bright that night. I felt a bit embarrassed. I just made it up on the spot. Do you believe me? John's lips turned downward. Your casual lie made me miserable for 2 years. Seeing his pitiful expression, I almost hugged him right then. Sophia had tactfully left earlier. I sat beside him instead, alcohol giving me courage to touch his face. I'm sorry. I thought you could never like me. He grasped my hand, guiding it from his cheek down to his jawline, throat, finally resting over his left chest. It's always been you. Let's make up for lost time, okay? I nodded slightly. The next instant, his hand cradled my head as he kissed me. His scent overwhelmed my senses until he nipped my lip. Focus. The next morning, I came to work with slightly swollen lips. A colleague asked concernedly, Emily, did you have an allergic reaction? I shot John a secret glare, smiling. Got nipped by an overexcited dog. The coworker chuckled knowingly. Seeing someone? Good for you. When do we meet them? Unfazed, John whistled cheerfully while entering his office. Soon my phone buzzed. Message from John, calling me a dog? Come get kissed and I'll forgive you. Keep your forgiveness. I flipped my phone face down. Minutes later, my desk got tapped. Emily, Mr. Wilson needs you. Of course. I smiled through gritted teeth. The tyranny of corporate hierarchy. His office stood empty until I turned. He'd been hiding behind the door. With one swift motion, I was locked in his arms. What are you doing? We're at work. He grinned. Since when can't I kiss my wife here? Who's your wife? I hissed, cheeks burning. Company policy prohibits office romances. He dipped down, silencing me with another kiss. Policies revoked. I entered that office pristine. Emerged slightly disheveled. Afterwards, John grew bolder. During work hours, constant messages flooded in, tired from reports. Come recharge me with a hug. Best decision putting your desk where I can see you. Why no messages? Don't love me anymore? Just had mint gum. Come taste. Ignore this and I'll say it to your face. By the third office visit that day, colleagues eyed me with profound sympathy for this overworked employee. Finally, after a brief moment of peace, my phone started buzzing incessantly again. I couldn't take it anymore. My fingers flew across the screen as I typed furiously. Why are you so obsessed with kissing and cuddling? Can't this wait until after work? John replied pitifully, Don't you love me anymore? I was about to respond when I suddenly froze. Why did John's profile picture have that official general manager John Wilson label next to it? Oh no! I just sent this to the entire company group chat. Normally, I could have deleted the messages in time. The real problem was that this big dummy John didn't realize anything was wrong. He kept texting, "Baby, we're still in the honeymoon phase. How could you get tired of me so fast? Help!" I shot up from my chair. Ignoring my coworker's curious stares, I sprinted to John's office. He was hunched over his phone, looking wounded as he typed. My sudden entrance made him look up in surprise, but his face immediately lit up when he saw me. "Emmy, I knew you cared." He spread his arms wide for a hug. I yanked the curtains shut and started scolding. "John, use your brain when dating, will you?" He blinked in confusion. What's wrong?" I thrust his phone in his face. "Look what we've done." John stared blankly for a second before recovering. As I stood there glaring, he suddenly wrapped his arm around my waist. The world spun, and before I knew it, I was in his lap. His minty breath tickled my neck. "Let them see. I want everyone to know you're my favorite." He kissed my throat. "Want to try mint flavor?" It's not that I didn't resist. I just couldn't. When he finally released me, my entire mouth tasted like toothpaste. John licked his lips. "Need to touch up your lipstick?" I glared but pulled out my trusty lipstick anyway. When we emerged, John kept firm hold of my hand. The door opened to reveal coworkers tumbling over themselves to scatter. The team leader girl forced a smile. "Emily." I mirrored her awkward grin. Hey." John ignored them, marching us straight to the center of the office floor. Then, I raised high our intertwined hands, fingers locked with John's. Everyone must have noticed something. Let me clarify here, it's all true. Emily and I are in a relationship, but it won't affect our work. I hope everyone will continue to work hard moving forward. The crowd fell silent for a moment before erupting into uproarious chaos. I always thought it was weird. Every time Emmy entered John's office, John would close the curtains immediately and open them right after she left. No wonder John promoted Emmy and kicked down restroom doors. Now that I think about it, John kept glancing outside during work hours. I thought he was monitoring our productivity. Turns out he was checking on the boss's lady. Happy dating, John. Will we get a day off when you get married? May you two last forever. Only the supervisor stood in the corner with conflicted expressions, seeming both perplexed and troubled. I suppressed my laughter, better let John personally explain that misunderstanding later. The commotion continued as John maintained his calm smile. Thank you, everyone. I openly accepted their well wishes. Being with him isn't embarrassing at all, it's the greatest blessing imaginable.